KBLA Talk 1580. Good morning and God bless. I'm Dominique DiPrima. This show, it's called First Things First. And my first thing every day, giving thanks, giving praises, asking for blessings from the Most High, asking for the blessings of the ancestors, the elders, and you. And let's go. Let's go. We got a lot to talk about. It's Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, which would make it a Talking Point Tuesday. This is where we tear down the patriarchy. What? It's just about understanding the things that come out of our mouths, right? Because many times we don't even examine where they come from. And I'm not just talking about you. I'm talking about me. Self-check is something I do in my brain. I won't do it at the grocery store, but I do it in real life. And you're welcome to join me. And then a lot of times we discover things, like you discover where something came from, who was the money behind that study, that idea, that thought. I mean, clearly in hour two, when we go to the national, international, and beyond, we'll probably be dismantling quite a few talking points, i.e., everything that the former president says is pretty much a debunkable talking point that takes on a life of its own and penetrates the QAnon sort of MAGA world. So, yeah, that. But there's a lot of things that we can examine in our day-to-day lives. And, of course, we'll take a look at what's going on around and about locally. California, left coast, wherever you stay at, meaning your neighborhood, where you be at, to put it mildly. We've got a lot to talk about, and we'll this day, my partner in politics will be in hour two, although we often do it in hour one. It's just me, you, and this microphone. Hour one, great time to call, 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. Sam P.K. Collins, a journalist, joining us, hour two. And then we'll be speaking with some scholars as we look to get some deeper understanding on the angelversary, the anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., which falls on today. And we have a couple of scholars who can give us a really closer look. And I think many times when you talk about iconic figures of Black history, the Rosa Parkses, the Martin Luther King Jr.'s, the Malcolm X, it's important to unpack that, what we know, what we don't know, where it came from. It's a kind of historical talking point because many times, without even realizing it, we become subject to the mainstream narrative or the official story as it's taught in educational institutions, which may omit important points, parts of history, points in a historical figure's character, life, accomplishment, philosophy, and that does not serve us. So I'm happy to have David Icard joining us. And, he is an author and scholar. And then the second half of hour three, Ellis Coase, who is author of a dozen books, including The Rage of a Privileged Class. And these scholars are going to give us a different insight about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Of course, Tavis Smiley has written a book on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but he was not available as a guest because he has his own show to host after this one. And he will have Reverend Eric Michael Dyson. So that should be quite a powerful conversation as we continue to mourn the loss of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It's an honor and a privilege to be here in this space, to be able to share with you the work of incredible scholars and also to go ahead and listen to what Tavis and Reverend Dyson have to say. So let's go, let's go, let's go. Call me, 800-920-1580. Want to hear what you have to say about so many things here in the West Coast area. Oh my goodness. It's there's now an official declaration of disaster in California, according to the Biden administration, for recovery from this series of storms. I don't even want to say storm because I feel like we've been in a whole system. And there's good news and bad news. With these mudslides, we're looking at a historical level of snow, which as it melts can create all kinds of flooding, mudslides, further mudslides. And I'm hoping that they're using every scientific trick in the book to capture that water. Meanwhile, our reservoirs appear to be mostly full. Reservoirs that we thought would take 2 or 3 rainy seasons to fill up, if we were lucky, are now full almost to the top. And so that is a miracle in itself. That's the good news, right? I know officials don't want to say we're out of the drought, but when your reservoirs are full and the ground is soggy, you're probably out of a drought. On the other side, you've got farmers whose crops have been ruined by floods, whose land has been encroached upon by rivers swollen over capacity. You've got mudslides and lots of, roads that have been, that need a lot of repair after the storm. You got people losing their homes. So you take the blessing with the challenges, and that's where we are right now. So apparently this Biden declaration of an official disaster in California will help to boost that emergency response and help recovery from the counties that are struggling the most. I'm Dominique DiPrima. We do have a lot to talk about. I want to figure out a little bit more about how we get rid of Kevin De Leon. And we could have a strike, an entertainment strike on the horizon. We'll cover that more when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Gain presents a tale of longing and long-lasting scent. Dear love of my life, we were on the 12B bus when I caught a whiff. A scent so fresh, so life-changing, I had to find its source. I didn't know if you were the woman in the pink freshly washed cardigan or the retired mailman next to me, but I knew one of you was my soulmate. Ah, the scent of Gain Flings. Add Gain scent beads for an even longer lasting scent.
Nerds! Here at NerdWallet, we often see people wrestle with financial decisions.
Mike is in the ring, up against his nemesis, indecision. Mike can't decide the best way to save his money, and indecision has him boxed in. But wait, Mike tagged in NerdWallet!
Whew, let's go. With NerdWallet's side-by-side comparisons, you can find a high-yield savings account with interest rates that earn more bang for your buck. So the next time you wrestle with a financial decision, you'll come out on top. NerdWallet, the smartest decision for all your financial decisions.
Look. Our Weekly Los Angeles is the largest audited black newspaper in the state of California with a distribution of over 50,000 copies weekly. Pick up a copy every Thursday to get the latest news on African American communities of LA. You can also keep up with what's going on in Los Angeles and surrounding cities by going to www.ourweekly.com. The Our Weekly website is updated daily with the current news about us and for us. For your advertising needs, Our Weekly offers economical advertising packages to fit your budget. Feel free to call Our Weekly Los Angeles at 323-905-1300 or visit the website at www.ourweekly.com. Our Weekly Los Angeles, reporting news that matters to you.
Are you looking to steer your career in a new direction? Driving for Culver City Bus can be your ticket to a long-lasting career with excellent benefits and paid training. Culver City Bus is looking for customer service and safety-minded bus operators to join the growing team. Culver City Bus offers on-the-job training starting at $19.10 per hour, uniform allowance, and health benefits. Culver City Bus is a great employer. Let Culver City Bus connect you with an essential service job. If you enjoy driving, seek real opportunities for career advancement, and passionate about making a difference in the community, then you are invited to join the Culver City Bus team. Start your journey today by submitting an application at culvercity.org/job. For more info, visit culvercitybus.com or call live customer service operators at 310-253-6500. Again, 310-265-6500.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
And back to me and you, 800-920-1580. The Writers Guild of America, the folks that write all the TV shows you like and some of the movies you like, they're talking about walking out now. They'll vote on a strike authorization next week, starting April 11th and through the 17th. Something feels fitting about that as we remember Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. They said that, the producers have not offered meaningful responses to core economic issues in any of the WGA's primary work areas: screen, episodic television, and comedy variety. Again, you want the writers to get what they need and what they want. They've been negotiating for the past 2 weeks. But when writers go on strike in Southern California, it's a big, big deal because it shuts down a lot of stuff, not just the writers, right? The shows. Most actors and below the line, meaning lighting people and all the grips and everybody who works on, they're not, people are going to honor those picket lines. We've had Hollywood strikes, Writers Guild strikes before, and it is debilitating. Now actors aren't working. It takes a while because there's already stuff in the pipeline that's already been produced by those writers. But I wish the producers would take a page from the LAUSD and just go ahead and figure it out. Now, I'm not saying they should make the mayor have to, divert from what she's working on with getting unhoused people off the streets and working on public safety, a public safety plan. But it would be really nice if they would pay the writers. And I think as we've seen the rise of more different kinds of platforms, right, the streaming platforms, more and more online content, writers and other creatives have struggled, unionized creatives have struggled to maintain their residuals and other customary payments that they should get, because those content, works of art, whatever you want to call it, they continue to generate money for years and years and years. And writers, actors, directors should be participating in that. It shouldn't only go to the studios, especially since many times writers, actors, and such, they're not working every day, every week, every month. So when they do create something that's being played over and over again and streamed and rerun, they need to get paid for that in order to keep the unhoused population down here in LA, and also just because they deserve it. It's their work. Did you guys see it was actually pictures, I didn't see video, of the fight at the pro-Trump rally in Huntington Beach? It was what some folks would call white-on-white crime with, skateboard guys. It looked like the skateboard guys were attacking the MAGA guys. It was out at the pier. This was over the weekend. It was a very small Make America Great Again, a tiny little Make America Great Again crowd. And, no one was apparently seriously injured, but it looked pretty intense. And someone's in custody. At least one person is in custody, of course, today. That's the local manifestation of what we are going to be seeing in New York today, as the former president has already, I'm sure if you've turned on any news channel at all, he's already made his way to New York. And so far we have seen almost no rallies in support. You saw a smattering of a few little people with their MAGA stuff along the road as he was driving with his motorcade. And there was a story in New York television about the one guy that was supporting him at Trump Tower. There was literally one protester there going, "I love you, Trump, I love you." So far his predictions of widespread uprising, if he were to be indicted, have not come true. It's not too late, I guess. It could still happen. But here in the Southland, we haven't seen it. I feel like we saw in Southern California bigger support for him around the big lie, right? After he pretended that the election was stolen. I felt like we saw, at least here, here in LA proper, in Beverly Hills, we saw some rallies. And certainly during the election itself, we saw some intimidation of voters going on. Not seeing that kind of thing on the ground here. I haven't. If you have, I'd love to hear from you. I heard some crazy stories during the election, folks calling me on the radio and letting me know about things they saw and heard that were very highly problematic. 800-920-1580. The LA County Board of Supervisors yesterday canceled a vote on a motion that was meant to decrease the jail population. It's a very prickly challenge / problem. Look, in 2021, there was a 2-year plan created to close the men's central jail, which is, an outdated, horrific jail, and to get the number of people in jails, our jail population in LA County, down. That has not happened. We were supposed to try to decrease by I think over 1,000, maybe 2,000 people, and that has not happened. The central jail is still open. There is no reduction in the population. So there was a motion called a motion to depopulate and decarcerate the LA County jails. The crazy thing about it, it was put forth by Supervisor Solis. The crazy thing about it, and Horvath, is that they got pushback from activists on the left and sheriffs on the right. So that's a bad plan. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I'm not actually an expert, but it does seem like there is nothing they can agree on, and yet there have to be some common sense things that could be done. What do you do when you've got so many people inside men's central jail who are actually extremely ill, mentally ill, or they have other kinds of? Do you build a state-of-the-art hospital facility? Do you convert the jail into a hospital, which of course would take tons and tons of money because it's an old, dilapidated building. LA Times calls it dungeon-like. What do you do with people, right? And that's what a lot of the criticism came from. A lot of activists apparently are like, hey, when is this stuff going to happen? Again, we keep seeing these deadlines, but we don't see progress. And if we're talking about, care first, that's our model, just warehousing people in a horrible, decrepit, old jail full of sheriffs that clearly have problems with inmates dying and being beaten, we have to do something. But apparently this is not that something. We'll look at maybe some of the reasons why this thing crashed and burned on yesterday when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Well, more severe storms and tornadoes are forecast to take aim at parts of the U.S. this week. Forecasters say the areas at the highest risk of threatening weather include the Midwest and the South, particularly Iowa, Missouri, Wisconsin, and Arkansas. They're warning that the storms, which could also produce damaging winds, are likely to start hitting sometime today. In Georgia, a potential juror is running into some trouble in Atlanta. A judge ordered an individual to serve 3 days in jail for illegally recording court proceedings in Fulton County last month. The case involved African-American rapper Young Thug, who is facing a slew of gang charges. The woman ended up serving just 5 hours of jail time. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The college basketball season ended with a dominant performance by UConn. UConn beat highly competitive San Diego State by 17 to win their 5th national championship since 1999. Sunday's LSU-Iowa women's national title game set a record with 9.9 million viewers on ABC ESPN. The rating topped a previous record of 4.85 million viewers for last year's title game between South Carolina and UConn. LSU players are not feeling a suggestion made by First Lady Jill Biden. Biden says she would like to invite LSU and Iowa to the White House for a celebration. White House celebrations for sports teams are usually just for the champions. LSU guard Alexis Morris said she would rather go to Michelle Obama's house if Jill Biden insists on bringing Iowa. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, conversation, and opinions when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm young, gifted, and black. KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
Hey there, I'm Jared Hill, president of the National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles, and I just want to say thank you for the benevolent $10,000 donation and scholarships for the next generation of black journalists.
And I'm Haywood Galbraith, photojournalist and founder of the Minority Photojournalism Institute. Thanks, KBLA, for your generous $10,000 scholarship gift to help us train the next generation of black photojournalists.
Congratulations to all the students who will benefit from the scholarship dollars raised at our Black History Month luncheon honoring black legends in LA media. When we come forward at KBLA Talk 1580, we're bringing everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us.
Personal Lynn Law Office is your go-to attorney for criminal cases. That's why we support the right to a fair trial for Los Angeles Council Member Mark Ridley Thomas. Call me at 424-261-2075 if you're facing any criminal offenses.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing in me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new plan. Nothing is everything.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
KBLA 1580 Talk Radio congratulates Sal's Gumbo Shack for this Women's History Month. Surviving the pandemic and social unrest, Sal's Gumbo Shack continued to hold the community up with great food to all that came through the doors. Are you ready for the best gumbo in town? The best po' boy you've had? Sal's Gumbo Shack. We bring the bayou to you with real authentic soul food. Mama and Granny's recipes made with real butter, real love, real everything. Also introducing a healthy option from our jackfruit selection. And there's more. Mouth-watering desserts, peach cobbler, banana pudding, red and blue velvet cake, 7-Up pound cake, homemade with lots of love. To order, call 562-423-2113. That's 562-423-2113. Sal's is also providing training and employment to those serious about a career in the food industry and the opportunity to perhaps own your own Sal's Gumbo Shack one day. Visit salsgumboshack.com or stop by either locations, Bixby Knolls or Long Beach Boulevard. Sal's Gumbo Shack.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
I do appreciate you. You know, closing a giant jail is more than a notion, and I get that. But it sounds like, you know, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. And I commend the Supervisor Solis for trying to do something, but it's a fail. When you have the Sheriff's Association putting out, the Los Angeles County Police Chiefs Association, I should say, putting out a statement in opposition of your plan, along with a coalition of community-based organizations also putting out a statement opposing your plan, you do have a problem. Then even Supervisor Janice Hahn said she was standing against it, and so that motion was withdrawn. One of the things a community-based organization said, which you could never do, I guess. Well, I shouldn't say you could never do too much of, but it seems like the only way you're ever going to get sign off on this kind of a thing from the community is to have a lot of town halls. And Justice LA is the organization that, issued this long letter saying, no, this ain't it. Same time, you're getting a statement from the Police Chiefs Association, this ain't it. But one of the things that Justice LA recommended is more community input. So it sounds like Supervisor Solis took that to heart. She says they will be trying to get more community input. And we're talking about a mix of things like more cite and release so that people get tickets and go on their way and don't go straight to jail. Releasing low-level offenders, although my sense is that many of the low-level offenders may already be out. And so what Solis is saying is that the county is going to have to work with other agencies. They just can't let people out of jail. Or just can't empty. I think there's like 14,000 people in that jail, if I'm not mistaken. That's a lot of people. You just can't. Yeah, it's 14,000. You just can't throw them out on the street. You just can't release everybody. Some of those folks need care that they're more than likely not getting inside of that jail. So it seems like I can see her point, but at the same time, it's been 2 years since we said we were going to do it in 2 years. Been almost 3 years. So, and you can see why the sheriffs and police chiefs wouldn't like it. They're talking about certain low-level offenses that are, when people are arrested in the future, they would just be cited with a ticket and they go. They don't go into jail. They're talking about removing bail for certain kinds of offenses, low-level offenses. And, I'm one of those bail reform advocates who thinks that, the bail system is classist. So they're talking about like a zero bail schedule, similar to what we did with COVID in the beginning of COVID. The sheriffs are never going to like that. Sheriffs made what I think is a disingenuous point on their press release, which is, oh, yeah, we all hope for the day when we won't have to lock people up. Actually, no, you don't, because you won't have a job. But also, that's not the point. We're not saying this is not the closure of Men's Central Jail was not strictly abolitionist. It was about an old, decrepit, inhumane lockup where we shouldn't be putting people. The police chiefs are advocating for more, bigger, newer, more modern jails. The obviously community-based organizations want care first, right? How do we get these folks care instead of just keeping them on lockup? And how do we get more humane treatment of folks? So I guess we're back to the drawing board. To me, that means it's could be another 2, 3, 10 years before we get that jail closed. But I think what we have to get to is not just, are we closing a jail or not closing a jail, but what are we doing with these people? Because really, in theory, you could close the jail and move people to other jails and it wouldn't solve the problems that we have within our system. The deputy-involved gangs, people dying in custody and being beaten in custody, then that's being covered up. A lack of proper medical care for people, especially those with extreme mental health challenges. Closing one jail doesn't fix that. I think activists and sheriffs need to face that. What does that mean? It means we probably need facilities Either we need to identify existing facilities, which I doubt we have, but if we do, identifying them, or create facilities where folks can be cared for properly and not warehoused. You close the jail and just shuffle people around. Does that complete what we're trying to do? I think what we need to do is find whatever that point of agreement is, if not with sheriffs, at least with city, county, state providers of that care that we're saying we want, and look at a big picture, not just focus on one building, but focus on what it means to be about care first. Kevin De Leon looks like he might have dodged a bullet, and he'll be around because the recall effort failed. And I'm calling all attorneys, find something. Because to me, he's done a lot of things that seem criminal. I'm not a lawyer. To me, that's one way that he could be removed from office, right? If he was found to be a criminal, which, since I guess white supremacy, anti-indigenousness, anti-renterness is not a crime, they're part of the whole free speech, free thought, thing that we have in our country that we cherish. But to me, scheming to get around fair redistricting, scheming to undermine black power and potency at the ballot box, scheming to take assets away from black community, that should be illegal. There's got to be a crime there. Other than that, we're stuck with this dude until 2024. And that's not right. I just feel like there were consequences for Nuri Martinez, as there should have been. She stepped down and got quiet. Consequences for Ron Herrera, the head of the LA Federation of Labor. He stepped down and got quiet. And probably is dealing with his own family because he has black folks in his family. Lovely ones at that. And Gil Cedillo, well, he wouldn't step down, but the voters had already taken care of that. They had already given him his walking papers. So the lone holdout, KDL, seems to be pulling a Donald J. Trump and standing. And I do agree we've got to be able, the government, city government has to function at this point. We have big projects. We got stuff to do. We've got people to house. We've got affordable, truly affordable housing to build. We've got people to keep in their current housing. There's a lot going on. So that means we've got to come up with another solution. Love to hear yours. 800-920-1580. 800-920-1580. Senator Steve Bradford is at it again with a very interesting piece of legislation focusing on black folks. I'll share that with you when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
For KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Tavis Smiley with a KBLA editorial. I've said it all along. Presumption of innocence, fundamental fairness, due process. Convicted now on 7 counts in his federal bribery case, LA City Councilman Mark Ridley Thomas scarcely got one, and his chances of getting the other 2 were slim to none, and Slim was out of town. Did you hear the jury forewoman's comments? The jurors were confused by the jury instructions, confused by the answers to the almost 12 questions they sent to the judge. She acknowledged that some jurors were not even paying attention, and she said the jury knew that the $100,000 contribution from MRT was legal, but the way the jury instructions were written made them feel like they had to find MRT guilty of wire fraud. Again, those are her words. So let me offer you just 3 questions that I want you to ponder. 1, why do you think the U.S. government spent millions of dollars of your money going after an alleged $100,000 bribe? 2, USC is in the news almost daily, it seems, for yet another violation of some law or the contestation of somebody else's humanity. But unlike all the other cases, they didn't get caught by some LA Times investigation. No, USC walked this particular case involving a powerful black leader into the U.S. Attorney's Office. Who made that decision, and how and why was it made? 3, while all the focus is on the indictment of Donald Trump, are you paying attention to all the other high-profile black elected officials that are being targeted across the nation by the Justice Department? Joe Biden's Justice Department. I'll let you marinate on that for a second. The judge in one case involving a high-profile black elected threw the charges out and told the government to kick rocks. It doesn't matter who's in charge. The hunting season for black folk is always open. I do not purport to know what's next for MRT. What I do know is that his legacy of love and service to our community is intact. What I do know is that God can turn your shipwreck into a submarine. As for all the rest of us, be vigilant, be sober, be circumspect. Just because you don't believe in conspiracy theories don't mean they ain't after you. For KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Tavis Smiley. We, of course, welcome your comments.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
Tavis said, just because you don't believe in conspiracy theories don't mean they're not after you. Certainly as a daughter of people, victims of the COINTELPRO program within FBI, I understand that perspective very well. For me, it's always finding the balance, right, where you are eyes open, vigilant, looking at the objective conditions, but holding on to staying encouraged, being optimistic about humankind and the progress that we can make and all of the good things that are happening, so that we don't allow these kinds of setbacks to steal our progress, steal our joy, make us so discouraged that we don't continue to fight. And I think one example that I see in the case of supervisor / council member / SCLC executive director Mark Ridley Thomas is his fight. One thing about MRT, he not going to give up. Many people would have taken a plea bargain. Most lawmakers would have. He decided to fight for his good name. Now he's fighting on appeal. And I feel like that, even though it has so far been very costly for him, is an inspiring example of not giving up under the most ridiculously daunting of conditions and situations. Some people say I wear rose-colored glasses. I like my rose-colored glasses. It doesn't mean that I don't see the objective conditions, the obstacles, the racism, white supremacy, the everyday discrimination, and those conspiracies that turn out to be true. It doesn't mean that at all. It means that I focus on what I want, not what I don't want. It doesn't mean I don't know about what I don't want. I use it as a pivot. I use it as a contrast. I use it as a fire in my belly, a reminder of why we show up every day and work for change, why we are progressives. Let's go to Carl from LA. Hi, Carl.
Hey, good morning, Dominique. Good morning to you. How you doing?
I'm blessed. How are you?
Okay. Oh, I'm great. I'm great, too. Hey, look, Janice Hines, I guess she was speaking on the Mid Central Jail, right?
Yeah.
Did she tell you anything about the cost of running that jail, the overtime for the deputies up in there, and and the resources that the people are not getting? I mean, they're not getting any type of resources up in there to educate themselves, or they won't even let you go to the law library up in there. They keep you locked down in the cell full of mice. It's mice all up in that jail. You know
Ew.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is the American program still up in there? I mean, I haven't heard anything about Jim Brown's American
They
program.
they
when
were
he
not
first
they
put it
were
up
not
there.
in the I don't think they were in Men's Central. They were in Pitch S.
Wayside?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, they were
okay.
out in Pitch S. I know I talked to Monique Brown, Mrs. Jim Brown, and the AmeriCAN program is still active. Ironically, I think they're doing more stuff in other states, but they're still doing some stuff in Cali. I don't know about the jail. I don't think they're still in Pitch S.
Yeah. Well, over these 3 years, there's a lot of people that have been sent to prison. People just don't know it right now. They ain't looking around to see who's still around. I mean, the prisons are even crowded right now. Yeah, seriously. They're talking about they let a lot of people out. They just put a few people in the news that, you snatch the purse. Oh, they let that guy out, but they're not letting everybody out. Snatches the purse and get caught. But anyway, maybe Janice Hines can come on and spill the cost of running that raggedy, roach-infested, rat-infested jail.
Well, I think
it's
all
got
jails.
mice in it.
I mean, that's disgusting. I know that all jails are expensive. I know that, Carl. Certainly, though, we have requests out to every member of the Board of Supervisors to be on this show. Many times when you don't hear people on my show, it's not for lack of trying. We'll get them in here eventually. Carl, stay with me, and you can call just like Carl did. Love to hear your voice. Always 800-920-1580. I'm Dominique DiPrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
And when I left the oven on, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan.
Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580, covering news and breaking news first.
Breaking news here. We've been covering this every day since the trial began. USA v. MRT. The verdicts are in. The jury has found LA City Councilman Mark Ridley Thomas guilty on a number of counts.
Keep it locked to KBLA Talk 1580 for news and analysis about the things that matter most to you. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
The FAA will be hiring air traffic controllers soon. Applications open June 24th through June 27th. If you know someone between the ages of 18 and 30 who might be interested, please tell them to go to www.faa.gov/BE-ATC to apply today. The salary range is $103,000 to $164,000. There's also paid training and school. Again, that's www.faa.gov/BE-ATC. Again, that's www.faa.gov/BE-ATC to apply to be an air traffic controller. This community call to action is brought to you by the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals and KBLA Talk 1580.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio, KBLA Talk 1580.
And I do appreciate you. This issue that Carl was taking up about the Men's Central Jail is real serious, because if we are actually going to follow through on what we created, what we marched for, what we fought for, which is the Care First model, which the LA County Board of Supervisors has adopted in many ways. I mean, the creation of the Justice, Care, and Opportunity Department under the leadership of Judge Songhai Armstead, who happens to be a friend of mine, but also I've watched what they're doing with that particular department in really working to make Care First have legs and feet and arms and a body. It's a new department. It's a huge undertaking, but it's in motion, right? We've seen what they've done with other departments to try to implement a care first model, whether it's sheriff's oversight or whether it's, working on mental health and how it interfaces with law enforcement. All of these things represent progress. The men's central jail has become like a symbol, but I think it's important. Yeah, Carl's description with roaches, I've never been inside of men's central jail, but I can imagine roaches and mice and it's a 60-year-old building that hasn't been taken care of. It's also a place where many have met their demise at the hands of these sheriff gangs. So we have to not just only look at the symbol. We've got to look at what we're talking about, care first. And for me, the issue of these extremely ill people, particularly mentally ill people that are inside the men's central jail or inside of the county jail system anywhere, is going to have to be addressed, because you just can't move 14,000 people. We closed the jail. Everybody has a party. Woohoo, we closed men's central jail. But there's still 14,000 people. Let's imagine some of those folks through some of these programs are released early, or they're cited and released, or they get out because of bail. But for the most part, in order to get a person out of jail, it's true. They either have to finish their sentence, have their sentence commuted, or break out, maybe. Honestly, how do you get a person out of jail? You have to have a change in policy. And how do you get a person, to your point, Carl, to be rehabilitated if they're in a jail? A change in policy and also a change in environment. I don't know how much rehabilitation is taking place in a rat-infested, roach-infested, broke down, cold and hot, terrible, dirty place full of potential abusers, full of alleged gang members who are also sheriffs. So I think we got to start thinking a little bit more seriously in terms of what is the solution beyond a symbol, beyond the men's jail. And when we talk about closing men's central, what does that mean in terms of the policy changes, the changes to facilities? Where are these folks going? Because what ain't going to happen? Okay, 14,000 people, we're just going to let them out. Well, and even if that did happen, with no supportive services, with no healthcare resources, you're going to have 14,000 more tents is what you're going to have. Or maybe 12,000 more tents, which would be bad, right? And tents with people who have serious health issues, many of them. Or some criminality that needs to be addressed. Rehabilitation doesn't take place most times inside a tent, right? So what are we doing? It's not just the jail, it's the system. I'm Dominique DiPrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Well, more severe storms and tornadoes are forecast to take aim at parts of the U.S. this week. Forecasters say the areas at the highest risk of threatening weather include the Midwest and the South, particularly Iowa, Missouri, Wisconsin, and Arkansas. They're warning that the storms, which could also produce damaging winds, are likely to start hitting sometime today. In Georgia, a potential juror is running into some trouble in Atlanta. A judge ordered